And hello, welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. We try so hard. I'm going to try extra hard tonight. I just grabbed this. I don't know what it really is. It has alcohol in it, thank God.
Gin fusion. You are brave.
Yeah, I've never had this. It sounds delicious. It's got a crisp blend of ginger, cucumber, which I don't like, but I do like pickles, mint and lime. And it's from Canada, and we love our friends in Canada. We have so many great friends in Canada. They are big league.
How is
This is delightful, but I still hate the
It's delightful.
It's delightful. So I am here tonight with Nacha, who you cannot see. He may or may not exist. At this point, you should probably just believe in him.
He is our Lord and Savior.
And Christy Santiago, our wonderful co-host here.
Yeah.
So we have a fun show lined up for you. Fun because of, one, we have great things to talk about, which are probably going to make me angry the entire time. And two, Christy wrote a book report, and if you don't come here for Christy's book reports, then I don't know why you're here. That's what brings people here, is Christy and her knowledge. And I just try to be somewhat charming. So I'm gonna throw half my charm out the window tonight because, again, I'm just mostly pissed off, but
right,
for good reason. So I'm gonna start us out here. And Christy, go ahead and step on my toes whenever you want to. And if you don't want to say anything, you don't have to say anything.
Copy that, Captain.
Awesome. Captain Max Barry. All right. So, first up, I want to say we're starting out with community news, which is odd because we usually end with it. But I want to make sure that everyone who's joining in with us tonight, also, hey, if you're here, thank you for being here. And also, please share out the link. Please share out the link now. Do the thing. We have people in the community right now who have done some fundraisers, and they definitely deserve a shout out. So I want to shout those fundraisers out. Easy enough, right? First one here is Jim Majors and David Worley and B. Melzebub, I believe, and more, but I've got a lot of time to appreciate the work that they have done, but they are trying to help save the Amazon rainforest, which it needs all the help it can get, right? So that's drawing attention to it, that's raising funds, and what they've done is they've set up not a GoFundMe, but it is a justgiving.com. It's a crowdfunding website. And I'm going to link that down below. I want you guys to check it out. They've only reached 33% of their goal. And they only have 12 supporters right now. But every dollar counts, right? So if you guys can donate $1, that would be fantastic. Let them know that we sent you. Sorry, there's a gnat in my face. I hate gnats. And we've already talked about the world's lungs being on fire. We've already talked about the Amazon rainforest. So we don't really need to go into what's going on there. If you don't know, check out our last episode. Also, just turn on the news. But again, it just we need as much help as we can get on this topic that affects everyone. So again, I'm copying that. I'm going to post it here in the chat. And also BML Sub, I still fuck up his name all the time. I'm so sorry. He already posted. So yes, thank you, everyone. Two, we did have a. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I move on, I'm going to go back and forth a lot. Jim Majors, I wanted to give a little extra shout out because I love his mustache.
Yes.
He's only 9 subs away from 300. So if you guys are not subbed to Jim Majors, again, I'm going to post his channel right here down below.
Yep, he's
And
my
you should,
pretend boyfriend. So
yeah,
he's my pretend boyfriend.
mine too. But
Yeah.
it's just for pretend. So I'm only pretend jealous. I'm really pretend jealous right now. So, please go to the YouTube page, the Disciple of Kairos.
Yes.
Again, he's only 9 subs away from 300. And once you're done there, why don't you just be a wonderful humanist and go check out David Worley's?
Yeah, Worley.
Because he's 9 away from 500. I don't know why I'm helping him out. I haven't been on a show yet. I owe him a podcast, and he has more subs than me.
Yes, you do.
I should just continue to be shitty. I do apologize, David. I will love to come on your show sometime again. Because I was on there for 5 minutes. And so, okay, now I can finally move on to the next one here. This one requires a teeny tiny bit of explanation why I'm bringing it up. Why I have to bring it up.
Okay.
Because Cult Baby started a GoFundMe 2 days ago, maybe 3, and it's to help Rachel Oates out because she's taking time off of YouTube because of bullying, mostly from Essence of Thought. And this is just a reoccurring thing. I have not really looked into it this time around. I spent a lot of time looking into it last time around.
Yeah.
When things happened with Essence of Thought, when things happened with Maddie, when things happened with just the whole community kind of splitting down the middle. And I really honestly didn't have time to give a proper statement about it and really speak up and say anything of substance because I didn't have time to do research. And by the time I did, it had calmed down enough. All right. So, in a nutshell, it's bullshit. The whole thing's bullshit because Rationality Rules got some stuff wrong in his first video about trans rights. And that's fine. We get things wrong sometimes. He was reached out to by multiple people, and I don't think he went about it in the best way that he could have. I don't think he responded as quickly as he should have, but he went out of his way to fix things and do research.
I mean, I think.
Yeah. I think he responded appropriately as well.
I feel that he was honest with him wanting to get it right, even if he didn't get it. I feel like he's humble enough and honest enough. That's just what I felt. Yeah,
and he did his research before he made any retractions, and that's what you should do. I mean, even if you made mistakes, you should leave those mistakes up long enough for people to see if you were confident enough to put them out there. And like that's what you have to do as a YouTuber. Retract them as soon as you know you need to. Until then,
Right, and I don't feel that he is, and I don't know him personally. I watched his career for a while and listened to many conversations. He does podcasts of conversations, and I just don't get the vibe that he is there are humans on this planet that get their kicks off of hurting people or don't really care, and I don't get that from him at all. I feel like he would try not to hurt someone's feelings. So intentions are big, and I don't feel like his intentions were false, but I don't know anything about any of it. I have been doing this book at night and doing House of Cards episodes during the day.
There you go. That's way better. See, and again, I looked through 3/4 of the videos last time, and I went to different YouTube channels that I hadn't really looked at before, and looked at other people who extend the normal community that I reach out to, but also people outside the community, like the Christian channels that were talking about it, and it makes our entire community look bad.
Right.
Like they just use it for fuel for their fire when we just come at each other in a really shitty way. I'm all about critiquing each other. It just has to be like constructive, right? We need to be constructive, not destructive. And that is exactly how Essence of Thought went about things. And anyone else who just blocked people, like just for being on the wrong side, we can have differences on other issues, but still work together where we agree. And I think that's really important. And I said the same thing with the non sequitur conflict, but that's just too much of a dumpster fire to really dive into, and I don't want to. And I know there's a lot. That's a whole different ballgame. But anyways, so I really want to point out, again, I'm going to share this link to the GoFundMe. It is over with. Why am I sharing the link? Just to show you how wonderful it was. Ex-cult baby, Rachel, she started this GoFundMe to help Rachel Oates out while she was taking time off, because she was worried about taking time off, because that is her main source of income. But she just had to, because she suffers from stress and anxiety and depression. And when she gets too much bullshit, it gets to her. It's happened a couple times, and that's reasonable. And she just needs to take breaks. So since she has such a wide range of support, I think Rachel of Ex-Cult Baby put this GoFundMe up with $1,000 goal, right. And within 24 hours they reached $3,190, which is amazing. That's very, very nice. And she ended the GoFundMe after they reached that high. Right. And I think that's very responsible. Like, you reached your goal. It's going to one person. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and stop. So I appreciate that she went out of her way, not just to like get in fights with people on Twitter, because that's the easiest thing to do. Also destructive at times, but she did something constructive, and it was really wonderful. She set up a GoFundMe for someone who was worried about their income. That helps. That they both help the community that way. So that was really wonderful, and I want to give her a shout out because she really deserved that. So way to go, Rachel of Ex-Cult Baby. And okay, so there was another channel. There were many channels, and I didn't get to check out everyone. And I do sincerely apologize. I know a lot of people spoke up, and they were all hashtag I support Rachel, I think it was, which is wonderful. Go ahead and put that down in the chat if you would, so I know I got it right or wrong. But yeah, there's a hashtag going around and to support her, because she was just like being singled out, and she really didn't need to be. She's not the person to fight with on this issue. But another small YouTube channel, they made a video, as Ex-Cult Baby did. It was a very short video. Kelly of Topic Thunder made a video supporting Rachel Oates. And again, she's 13 subs away from 300. So I would super duper appreciate it if you went to her channel, which I'm again going to post real quick right now, and the live chat. Please go subscribe to Kelly, because she's a wonderful, very nice person. And she's only 13 steps away from 300. And I really like getting her to those 00 marks. So please do that. Also to Rachel Oates, if she ends up watching this, I know that Kelly looked up to you, and that's awesome. But also, I found her first, and she's my baby, so that's that. I wanted to quote a couple things from Kelly's video because I think she made some really good points, and I think you guys should check out the video. But I want to quote a few things myself here. Quoting, "I'm sorry to inform you, but I'm a transphobic bigot. Not by my own standards, of course, but by some other people's I am. And also, what do I know? I'm a cis white male." Now, not quoting Rachel. I'm sorry, not Rachel. Kelly, not quoting Kelly. If you don't like my form, but agreeing with her, so similar to what she said. If you don't like my form of activism, that is certainly unfortunate. But you don't get to tell me that I am being insincere or that I hate trans people. I know a lot of people in the community have heard this, and they've been blocked by their friends because they just spoke up and they didn't like the hateful rhetoric going on. So all of a sudden they hate trans people. They're transphobic, and it's really disgraceful. It's really awful. It's really gross because we do a lot of community building, not just here on this channel. We actually could do a lot more, but this community,
it's counterproductive.
It's very counterproductive. And it's hard enough to get people to work together on things, not just because of differences in opinion, but also time schedules. So like let's not waste our time just being divisive. Let's try to work together. Again, if you disagree with something, with someone, just don't focus on the topic with them. If you're going to be critical of it, please do so, but be constructive about it. Just don't be a dickhole. Don't be a urethra on YouTube or on Twitter, though Twitter is the place for that. And then kind of directly here, stop dividing the community. Essence of thought with your irrational arguments and your divisive rhetoric. You've hurt the trans community more than I or any other of us bigots ever could. Because again, I looked at other YouTube videos, and I know YouTube's not the only place like you need to look for activism, but if you look at the other crowd looking in at these conflicts, they use it for fuel fire. And that's why I say I'm pointing out your irrational arguments. You're straw men. Like you're the king of the straw men right now. And they know that. So they just use it to make your whole community look irrational, like your arguments are. And that's not my fault. That's your fault. So cut it the fuck out, because we support the LGBTQ plus community, and we don't want to see that.
No. And if you really want to help somebody, and I haven't read or heard any of that, but just, you don't need to. Especially coming from not knowing anything about it, good advice is, are you doing any of this are you doing this with hopes that it will make it better? Because it doesn't sound like it. You're not doing things that would be for the community. Like, okay, I have a problem with this. This is how it made me feel. Let's talk about it so that we can be a better community, not calling people names. That's counterproductive, especially for adult activists.
Yeah, really. Again, we're all adults here. If you want to be critical, please.
Mostly an adult.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I apologize to all of our younger viewers and YouTubers.
And I'm mostly an adult, so.
I mean, mostly. I mean, you're as an adult as I am. So, I'm sorry, not sorry. So everyone, I'm sorry for the rant, because I'm sure everyone who knows about this is probably sick of it. But also, as I said, I didn't really speak up and use my voice last time. Wear this every day.
Use your voice.
Yeah, for that. But
your words.
the words.
Use your words.
My big league words. But I really wanted to make sure that I said something this time. And I know it affects everyone, or a lot of the people watching, and everyone who helps with this show. So I wanted to speak up for everyone and say something. So that said, I think we're on to Christy.
Whoop, whoop. Let's just say, hi, Arby. I just wanted to do that real quick. All right. So
What's this called again, Christy?
Literally wrote a book report. The book is called The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein.
Okay.
It's a fantastic book, but I did get more out of it the second time around. Because there's so much. All right. Disaster Capitalism, aka the Shock Doctrine. How to use a crisis to get around democracy, to avoid democracy altogether, and why it's time for some disaster collectivism. Naomi's book, The Shock Doctrine, is an alternative history full of facts of how we ended up with this Wild West brand of capitalism, what the French call savage capitalism. This no rules, so-called free market that is imploding so spectacularly before our eyes these days. We have been sold a fairy tale, and a fairy tale version of history, not so full of facts, that tells us that this way of organizing society has really been liberating, or a liberation movement for capital, liberating itself from all of the barriers to the accumulation of obscene profits, because that's really the factual history that we, the people, have been living, this counter-revolution against the New Deal of FDR's. We've been told that this swept the world peacefully and democratically because the people of the world wanted these policies of privatization, deregulation, of deep cuts to social spending. What Naomi Klein is arguing in this book, The Shock Doctrine, is that we cannot understand how this very unpopular ideology triumphed around the world without understanding the role that crises, national disasters, terrorist attacks, everything is in that word crisis. How crisis played a role at every turn. And the role that shocks play. Shocks when we're shocked after 9/11. So there's lots of shocks. They use this in their, it's a strategy. We'll get to that. And the role that these shocks play at every turn as well. And this is what she means by shock doctrine. Shock doctrine is a political strategy that is deeply understood at the highest reaches of power. And it is high time that regular people like you and me begin to understand this strategy as well. And by the way, I believe that we are catching on. The strategy is, if you have a set of very unpopular policies that benefit the elites, aka the ruling class, but do not benefit the regular people, then the only time that you can push through these ideological punishments, I call them, the way economists describe it is economic shock therapy. That's actually what it's called.
That's pretty catchy.
Yeah, it's a little bit like doomsday and scary.
That too. But
Pushing through all at once, not the gradual approach, the whole kit and caboodle, the big bang, as it's called. The moments, they get all of it pushed through at once, like Thatcher's Britain, like Russia in the 90s. To shock the society, one needs a crisis, a state of emergency. When we are in a state of shock, we become childlike, we regress. There's a lot of flight or fight. So, that is true. People, when they're stressed out, don't make the best decisions. So there is a window of opportunity that opens up in the middle of a crisis. When we are panicked, when we are focused on the minute by minute, the day by day emergency. When it is possible to push through these policies without a debate. So this strategy is a democracy avoidance strategy. It is a way to get around democracy. Even if you happen to live in a democracy, even if you happen to live in an electoral democracy. So what Naomi Klein does in this book is she traces the various kinds of shocks, kinds of crises that have played this enabling role since this ideology began spreading throughout the world. And it did not begin with Reagan and Thatcher. It didn't. Not at all. It began with Augusto Pinochet in the 1970s. Pinochet's Chile was the first laboratory for Milton Friedman and the Chicago Boys style of capitalism. Chile was the first place to privatize Social Security, the first place to introduce a flat tax across the board. Both are policies that the American Republican Party here in the States have yet to find a crisis big enough to be able to exploit, although they're still trying. In the 1970s, they did not have to find a way around democracy. They just overthrew the fucking democracy. They didn't care. We didn't have cell phones everywhere that could record what people were doing, so we just overthrew them and said that the Sandinistas were the bad guys, so we needed death groups to go in and take them out, when it was the opposite of that. I've said this before. George Carlin, comedian, I love when he says, if firefighters fight fire, what do freedom fighters fight? Yeah. So, okay. In Uruguay, in Argentina, in Chile, in Brazil, in the aftermath of these shocks, they pushed through these radical policies one by one, and they got rid of the opponents of these policies with very real shocks to their bodies. They just took them out. All of these three shocks: 1, shock to countries; 2, shocks to economies; 3, shocks to bodies, formed a kind of perfect storm that created a laboratory for those violent ideologies. Sorry, couldn't spit that out. For this violent market fundamentalist ideology. In the 1980s, it was debt shock. So that's 2 now. And the debt shock worked really well for these kind of fundamentalists about the market. It was the economic crisis that forced countries in a state of desperation, of panic, to go to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank, and meet these market fundamentalists there, who'd say, well, I always imagine them saying, while rubbing their hands maniacally, not that that is happening, but why not? Why not? Why not? I don't know, it's that bad. Would say you've got a market crisis. Well, we're not going to bail you out exactly. We might give you a loan, the IMF or the World Bank would say, but attached to that loan is a whole set of measures like privatizing your telecommunications, privatizing your electricity systems, your oil, your water, your roads, your bridges. Oh, and you're going to have to cut funding to education and introduce school fees and privatize healthcare. Believe that this is also a violent process, in my opinion, this so-called peaceful period when we forced things through to needy countries. Naomi also looks at the role that economic transitions play, which was a lot to take in, so I summed it up. It's like a rapid-fire political change, changes from one regime to the next. Sometimes it can be a happy transition, like the end of an apartheid or the collapse of a totalitarian government. But it creates a period of profound change, a profound dislocation, that it is possible to push through very rapid change and all at once. Naomi says that she wrote this book because she had the experience of living in a country that had experienced one of these very rapid political transitions in the 80s. She lived in Argentina, and it was one of the first laboratories for this market fundamentalism ideology. What most interested Naomi about what had happened in Argentina was that when the dictatorship ended and democracy finally came, In that period, everyone was focused on the big P politics, on the fact that they could finally vote, the fact that they were closing down torture centers, etc. What she heard from many of her friends in Argentina was that they had felt that they had missed something huge in the political transition, that they had missed the economic side of it completely. And so they had been able to overthrow a political regime, but the economic system that had been imposed with so much violence remained intact in all of them. I need a sip of my soda. Thanks for holding.
No problem.
And then Naomi went to South Africa, and she spent some time there. She met so many people who told her the very same thing about their transition from apartheid. When they finally overthrew apartheid and had a democratically elected government that brought Nelson Mandela to power in 1994, same thing. She talked to so many people. She has all these, all her notes, just all her everything still. Wonderful journalists in South Africa. One who had said something that really resonated with her. He had said, quote, "We missed it." And what he was talking about was the way in which the economic system of apartheid managed to pass itself on, even under a democracy. We missed it. And that reminded her of something she heard in Argentina about what they had missed in their period of rapid change, their political transition. Of course, the liberation movement in South Africa wasn't just about the right to vote and the right to freedom of speech for all people, freedom of movement. It was all of these things. And policies are very important and were non-negotiable. That's why those were what they were worried about. It was also about the fact that apartheid was an economic system. How'd they get this past them? Nobody's ever taught this. As well as the political system, an economic system for sure. And it had dramatically concentrated wealth for generations in the hands of the white elites in the apartheid in Africa. And part of the promise of liberation was redistribution of wealth for all of the ill-gotten gains at the top, especially. This redistribution of wealth was the economic platform that the anti-apartheid party had ran on when Nelson Mandela won in 1994. That was what they ran on. They were going to be, it was an anti-apartheid state. And they did make big changes. But in the key transition period, they locked in several of the key figures, like the head of the central bank and the finance minister. They were part of the deal. When they handed over power and agreed to hold elections, the outgoing apartheid government said, quote, "We want to keep our apartheid era central banker and our apartheid era finance minister in your new democracy," end quote. And it was non-negotiable. In Argentina, they elected the elected official elected by the people to vindicate the crimes of the past. He appointed the head of the central bank from the dictatorship that he was taking over, Domingo Cavallo. Domingo Cavallo, the head of the central bank, was made famous for his very last act as head of the central bank. Under the dictatorship was to nationalize the debts of the largest corporations in Argentina, including multinational corporations like Citibank, Ford, IBM. It was a parting gift. Sound familiar? Sounds like what?
A circle. Like a little bit familiar.
Yes.
Wait, you know what? That kind of sounds like socialism, but like for the rich.
Yeah. That's, he nationalized the debts on all of the people. That was his parting gift to all his friends before the country flipped into a democracy. But you're setting it up unequal from the beginning. That defeats the purpose. Yep. So aggravating. It says, "We'll take your debts. You and the ruling class can keep your profits." So she learned to be careful when governments are talking about smooth transitions from corrupt regimes. If you want change, if you vote for change, if you volunteer for change, be ready for rocky moments along the way. There is no way to transition from a corrupt regime marked by illegal activity, criminality, and rotten people only worried about their bottom line, marked by methods that we have rejected like torture, and not have a few bumps along the way. That's a lot of change. Somehow we've accepted this idea that we can strive, want, fight for, and vote for change, and then have a smooth, seamless transition that won't alarm the markets. That's how we get the status quo, people, over and over again. The market will always vote for the status quo. It doesn't want change, never will. Not ever the change that the mass citizens of this planet want. There's no way to reconcile those two forces without accepting that it's going to be rocky with a side of bumpy in between. Naomi wrote this book because, in my opinion, the strategy of exploiting these moments of disorientation, the moments when we are all concentrated on the big P politics, on who's getting the top appointments, on what was said in his or her latest speech, on the pageantry of politics, that we don't read the fine print, that we go to sleep. So that strategy only works, the strategy of shock doctrine only works if we do not know that it is a strategy. Now that we know that the shock doctrine is their strategy, it stops working. Knowledge really is powerful. Their whole strategy is about exploiting our disorientation, exploiting our regression, our uncomfortableness in the bumpy. We like to be comfortable, us Americans. When colonial rulers finally realized that they had to hand over power to the indigenous populations, they would loot the treasury on their way out the door. The Portuguese, Mozambique, poured cement down the elevator shafts. They were particularly vindictive. This is how she and I see the Bush bailouts, the Bush administration's final pillage, called by the catchy title, Too Big to Fail. The bank bailouts were the ruling classes looting the treasury. And it goes way beyond the $700 billion when you count the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, after you count the loans that were being handed out with no accountability. That brings this looting adventure past $2 trillion already. After they finish looting the treasury, the real crisis begins. The crisis in the public books. That's the transfer of a private economic crisis, i.e. the private sector in a crisis, to the public sector, i.e. taxpayers. And then, so it goes, all of the things the masses were saying, yes, we can to, alternative energy, universal health care, universal education. Then it's sorry, no, we can't. So sorry, we can't afford it. So sad. We just spent all of our money and there's nothing left to help out with social policies. This happens over and over and over again because we privatized all the gains and socialized all the losses. We've been duped. So as history now shows us, all of the people who had been selling the bailout on every TV and radio show across the land then became the naysayers, all of them. So think about it like a conservative, like a Republican, like a neoliberal, like a neocon insurance policy against the promise of real political change in this country, because that's what it is. It only works well if we don't know about it, if we don't understand that this is a tactic and one that's been working for a century or more. This is not a market that needs to be coddled. Barack Obama won his first term by telling the American people something that was true, which is that this market failure is the failure of an ideology. It's the failure of the mania for deregulations. It's the failure that you give more and more and more to the people at the top, and it will trickle down to the people who we all know need it the most at the bottom. We also listened when Obama said that this failure is the accumulation of 8 years of deregulation. But I say no, that's not. It's not just 8 years. Glass-Steagall, which was the law that prevented investment banks from being able to play in the same business as commercial banks. That was from FDR. It was strong. It protected the people from another, like the Great Depression. So that was in 1999, and you know that it was eliminated in 1999 when Larry Summers, who was Treasury Secretary, he introduced Bill Clinton. When Bill, signed that piece of legislation that more than anything else created the 2007-08 crisis. Larry Summers, same guy, and Alan Greenspan, side by side, fought to keep derivatives from being within even reach of government regulators. They weren't going to have it. So they're making our laws for them. Okay, so if we really want change, it actually does require doing things that say there's a new sheriff in town, and the market will definitely react very badly. And I want everyone to be ready for that, because it's going to suck when Bernie becomes president and starts doing things for the people. The market's going to freak the fuck out.
Oh yeah, they're gonna try to leave.
Well, but it will recover.
Yeah,
I promise it will recover.
Can I say something on that before you move on?
Go for it.
Because I don't want to forget it, because I will do that. As you almost choked on your drink before I finished my sentence. Oh yeah, I know. So, I was thinking about this today, again, even because I think to really make sure the economy doesn't suffer so much when Bernie becomes president and makes these big changes and starts to bring democracy in the workplace a bit, and raises the taxes of the rich and all the big corporations, because what's the first thing they're going to try to do? Oh, fine, we'll leave, right? So I think if you can get laws in place before you raise those taxes to make sure you can leave, or okay, let's say you let them leave, because you could make a law. Okay, well, you can't do international business and business here or whatever, right? You could do something, but I'm thinking, well, what if you say, fine, you can leave, but you can't take any of your resources. You can't just take them out of the country. They're here, and your employees get the first dibs on buying this enterprise.
Yes. Worker co-ops. I'm 100% behind worker co-ops.
Yeah, because then they all get to keep their job.
Yes.
Yeah, and we still get the taxes from those profits, and then they can, as a worker co-op would do, they can distribute the profits amongst themselves more evenly than what is done now.
Yeah, they can vote on who they want their manager to be. They can vote on all of it. It would be democratizing the enterprise. Yeah, I'm all about hashtag democratize the enterprise. Okay, so the market will definitely react very badly, but then it will recover. And the good news is we, the U.S. citizens, are a little bit used to these shocks. They're a little bit less shocking these days. Naomi actually thinks that there is a moment when it is possible to make good on some of these promises. The closer we are to this upcoming election, when so many promises are made, the easier it is to do. We keep hearing that we might get a new deal, a green one, and that Bernie Sanders is the next FDR. We Americans subscribe to this romantic great man or men of history thing, romantic stories where FDR handed us his new deal from on high, because he was so enlightened. But we erase so much from our history as well. The incredible struggle from below is what that story is about, that forced FDR to introduce the New Deal and that allowed him to sell this policy, as massive as it was, to the elites, his friends, the ruling class, as a compromise, because the alternative for a while there looked very much like a revolution. So we need this incredible movement we're witnessing and being a part of, I hope. And we need to stay mobilized. The best gift that a President Bernie Sanders could be given is a population that stays vocalized, that stays mobilized, that doesn't just go home after this inauguration saying, okay, we've won, we can relax, that keeps reading the fine print that not only demands the change, but is a part of the movement. And the antithesis of what Naomi calls the shock doctrine or disaster capitalism, where exploiting happens during or after a crisis to avoid democracy altogether, is to use the crisis to enlarge democracy. If they want to avoid democracy altogether, we need to be ready and know their tactics, especially in the islands that just got hit with this. You know, we're so far away from them. It just breaks my heart. They are doing this paradise capitalism where they swoop in after disaster and take advantage of the situation. People that have lived on the land for hundreds of years, indigenous to the area, their family had that land. You know, they probably didn't pay that much for it, if they ever even paid for it. But yes, corporations want to hand them $90,000 for it, and when they don't have a home to go to or any clothes or everything's gone, 90,000 is a nice chunk, but their property is on an island and it's probably worth millions.
Yeah.
But they don't know that. They're going to take something now because it's now. And that's disaster capitalism. So if we learn to recognize them, we can use the crisis to enlarge democracy so that it isn't just something that happens every few years. Like we get together and care about an election and everybody's talking. We need to keep it up. This isn't a spectator sport. I want everyone to realize that if you don't like the way things are and you don't do a thing about it, then you're just complaining to have small talk, because I don't want to hear it. And I have to agree, disaster capitalists have had the reins for a very, very long time now. And it's high time for some disaster collectivism.
Awesome. Very, very nice. I thought that was your closing. I'm like, I'm going to wait. She's about to take a drink. I'm going to take a drink.
I have 2 drinks, just in case.
Wonderful. I should have 2 drinks. The more I drink this, the more I realize it just tastes
not really your thing.
It just tastes like mint pickle juice.
Mint pickle?
Mint pickle juice is what it kind of boils down to.
Those two should never be together. Are you pregnant?
I can't say that here.
You let Lindsay get on top, didn't you?
I did.
Damn it, Mac.
Sorry. Wow. Thanks, Christy. So, all right. Well, I guess I have to take the reins again. I'm going to get back on top.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. And I think it's time to talk about Space Farce, Space Force, Space Command, they're calling it now. I don't have a whole heck of a lot of info on this because most of it's just garbage. So I think it was 2 days ago now. I only say that because I'm not sure what day it is. I'm pretty mixed up. So I think it was two days ago now. Trump announced that they are launching Space Command. I wish they would have kept it with Space Force because that was way funnier. Space Command is also funny. It's just, I don't know, it doesn't roll off the tongue. Dun, dun. Yeah. Finally, we're in the big leagues. I'm actually going to quote that one tonight. Yeah, so that's a thing now. And it's supposed to cost, I can't remember right offhand now. I think I want to say 32 billion, but I'm wrong. Absolutely not right. Anyway, yeah, they're saying to like get this off the ground or whatever. It's going to take a chunk of money that we have, right? And this is part of what's kind of ticking me off is we have the money to launch Space Command, and no one's like, how are we going to pay for that? How are we going to pay for that?
The moon is going to pay for it, okay?
The moon is going to pay for it. Trust me. There's Nazis up there.
Nobody knows the moon like I do.
Nazis are going to pay for it. Watch, we just got demonetized.
Oh.
Demonetized because I said Nazis.
Well, I not see. You see? I not see.
I not see it. Damn it, Christy. All right. So, as everyone knows, our next big battles are going to be fought in space. As everyone knows,
Pew, 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 pew.
That's where the next battlefield is. Although there's a treaty saying we all stay down here.
That we helped create the language for.
Yeah. But we can just bypass that. Although, like, treaties are supposed to be treated as international laws, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody owns it.
All the time with Space Command, with our immigration situation, with
black ops sites, torture, waterboarding, rape.
Go on.
White phosphorus use, Agent Orange use. Yeah.
So we do this a lot, and my biggest beef here is how are we going to pay for that? Are we? Well, we're just taking that out of the taxpayers' money, as we always do, right? Because it's paid for by taxes. But what do we really need from taxes? Do we need to spend more on wars? Because what is it?
Crumbling infrastructure everywhere.
We have a crumbling infrastructure,
oh my God.
Especially in more diverse neighborhoods.
Yes, and we need levees and dams to be repaired and brought up to code. Some of them aren't even code.
No. And our healthcare system, obviously.
What? We need one.
We need a healthcare.
Which one? Yeah, we need one.
And what that's supposed to cost around $30 trillion over 10 years. And we can drop what we've spent $7 trillion on the war in Afghanistan.
Yes. And that's not even Iraq. That's just
no. That's just the war in Afghanistan. That's one war, one illegal war that we fought since 2001, and that's kind of bullshit. So we can spend $7 trillion on one war over 20 years, but for our healthcare system, Space Farce. No, and I know that. We have finite resources, right? Because we live in a world.
We live in reality.
We do live in reality, sadly. I like other than reality sometimes. But, and I know we need to have a military budget. I know we need to fund other things other than healthcare. But that doesn't mean that the things that the people want, showing by polls,
right,
that a majority of Republicans and Democrats and independents all want a single payer healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
They want free college.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, who's supposed to be in charge of the government? What's it say in the Constitution that the right wing always says that we've never ever fucking read? Well, it's the government by the people for the people.
Right.
And it's just so maybe listen to us.
They exclude a lot of people in that statement, we the people.
Yes, and we know that, and that's true.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I wanted to bring up during this, again briefly, is the Pentagon okays military construction funds to build Trump's wall.
I know.
And that's $3.6 billion in funds.
Right. Yes. Hurricane season is not over until the end of November.
Yeah.
So that was not smart.
No, I wasn't smart. But I mean, everyone's afraid of the dictator. So, so we have that, and that's not all it's going to cost. It's not going to be, close to $4 billion. It's going to be way more than that. And again, as one of my biggest beefs with the wall is less so that who's making the steel for this wonderful fence, less so, oh, there goes some with my drink, less my mannerisms. Less so that it doesn't keep out immigrants, like they say.
Right.
More so that this is just a waste of resources, not just money, but like just of steel.
There's a lot of families that don't want their land confiscated for it as well. I mean, it's just a big, huge, there's so many other things. I'm okay with having very vetted border. With technology. There's no reason we shouldn't have guard posts that are really high and lights that sweep. And there are herds of animals that use this land to travel every year. Like, there's just so much reason to not. At this point, he's just like, he's grudge fucking the wall. Like, he's only doing it because he has to. I don't know.
That was good.
Yeah.
I know I've made the argument before, and I think here even of like, if obviously we need to have a vetting system. I think a wall's not gonna fucking cut it, and I think put more money in hiring people to do it. Mm-hmm. Hey, you need jobs, right?
Hello.
Jobs. Oh, hello.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right. It's a right-wing talking point, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's could be problematic things on this, but drones or just this camera drones, you can surveil so much more land having like 2 people with a couple drones each watching miles of land. It's way easier. Like we have some super cool technology now that makes their jobs easier. And there's technology where we can just scan someone's whole vehicle when they're coming into the country. We can upgrade the technology that we already have. We can invest in the technology that we already have. We don't need to build a goddamn wall because one, it costs way more, way less effective, way less
hurts the environment. I mean,
it's like the opposite of the Statue of Liberty, and way more awful symbolism is what I was going for. And 4, it's just a waste. It's just a waste of natural resources.
Agreed.
And it's stupid. So that.
All of that.
Yeah. Who's going to pay for it? It's us, not Mexico, obviously.
Right.
It's the Pentagon right now.
And lots of programs are going to suffer. I mean, many programs in the military and otherwise were depending on that. That was in their budget. They had things planned out that we're going to be using those funds. That's what those funds were allocated for. So, yeah, there's many other areas that are going to suffer. And it's because he wants to throw his tiny little potato pee-pee around.
Potato pee-pee. Yeah, that.
His Yeti.
Anyways, so that was that. Let me look at this real quick. Another thing, and this doesn't have to do with any Space Force stuff. I'm sorry, that was much short. Like for the title, we had much less on that than anything else.
Hey, look, I do want to say about Space Farce, whatever. I am such a huge. I love space, and any time that there's a chance that we could get more funding to know more about space, I'm cool with it. Call it whatever you want. Call it banana pajamas and it's your new command in space. I don't care. But if it puts scientists and the more we learn, the better. And so I'm down with that, but I'm not at all. I will never support putting weapons in space. I will never support that. That is not what that's for. Like,
No.
So many things could go wrong. Are you crazy?
Right. And what I was thinking for that, two things, I'm going to try to remember them both, is one, okay, yeah, like, let's say the world's next big battlefield is in space. Who's stupid enough to go for that?
Right, because if your ship blows up, you're dead.
They come over here. It's like,
yeah, it's not.
Like, no, that's.
You can't just jump out with a parachute, and oh my, eject. No, you can't.
No, it's really.
Let's put another space station. Let's put a station at the moon and have people live in increments there and learn all kinds of. Let's do stuff to learn.
That's way better. I'm all for exploration of space, and I think it should be publicly funded. Hey, look, she's a nationalist. Yeah,
what am I supposed to do? I love NASA. I couldn't see it.
And I think it should be publicly funded, and it should be shared with the public because we fund it, right? Just like a lot of the drugs that we get, that pharmaceutical countries buy from universities that we publicly fund. We shouldn't be charging people for medicine like we do.
I don't think many Americans even realize that your tax money goes to research, to fund research for all kinds of medications, for cancer, for MS, for AIDS. It pays for this research. And then after a medicine is made, they make a patent on it. And then even though we as the American collective paid for the research and development to create it, because the company has that patent on it and uses their materials and machinery and workers to make it, they're able to charge. I'm sure you guys have heard all the stories, if not experienced it. It's $600 for something that would save a kid's life, an EpiPen. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And I know when I first heard that, I thought that can't be, and it is be. it is real, and it really pissed me off. I mean, it just makes my stomach sick that our own patriotism and everybody's put down if you didn't stand up for the flag, and that's fake patriotism. That's not real. Real is, let's collectively fund this research so that collectively we can have that medicine if we need it. That's being a good that's I want to take care of my country. America first. Show me, bitch, because you're showing me you first. You're showing me ruling class first. And I would love to see in my lifetime the United States of America having honest democracy. I think that I could die happy if I felt that we didn't have. I mean, all countries get rated. Their democracy gets rated every year. The last 2 years, we've been a flawed democracy, but never in our history have we ever reached flawed democracy. So it's scary to be at flawed democracy, and it's graded in many different levels, and our overall is flawed democracy. And I don't know if we can get that back. I don't know. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take people not getting complacent or lose interest if they lose a battle or two. It's not going to be fun or easy, but I think that it's 100% worth it. For me it is. I really do love the people in this country. And there's a fly on your screen. Look at him, just walking up. That
was pretty crazy.
Yeah. He was like, what? And what?
So tiny.
I'm famous.
You see him.
He was like, hi, Mom. Oh. Really.
So yes, yay space, nay farce. I made that hashtag. Anyways, there was one more thing I wanted to mention before we go, because it was fun. Before I came on tonight, one of the first things I saw when I was just pulling up Google, Twitter, Facebook, all the stuff, is I saw, did anyone see Christy? Because you're the only one I could talk to. Everyone else typing in the chat. Did you see Pamela Anderson on The View?
No.
No? You're going to want to see it because it was awesome. Awesome. It was wonderful.
Is it about Assange?
It was about Assange.
I just know she's a good friend of his.
Yes. And it was awesome. So Pamela Anderson was on The View talking truth to power. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and she called out Joyce
Behar.
Behar, yeah. I always forget how to say it.
Behar.
She said Julian Assange isn't responsible for Trump. Hillary Clinton is. Called her out.
Boom.
Stuck it right to her. I'm just like,
did they really think that was a great idea?
Yeah. Yeah, you should.
Biden's a good idea, so there's that.
Yeah, they did invite that good idea.
Status quo.
And then she turned right around when Meghan McCain decided she should try to talk about it. Pretty much all she said was Hillary's emails and
Benghazi emails. Benghazi.
Just cut her off. They were her emails. She wrote them. So yeah, she did. So fuck over it. She's responsible for her own shit. It's not Julian Assange.
Right. And she's not president right now.
No, she's not president right now. If she was, guess who Christy and I would be going after right now.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, because she's off.
I can't imagine there would be many things, if any, that I would be like, oh, I'm just so proud of her today.
Right. No, we wouldn't be finding a lot of that right now. Given, I do agree with most people when they say, now she's better than Trump.
No, yeah. She's not better. She's just not as bad.
Yeah. And I don't know, because Trump's pretty damn bad.
Right. She's smarter than him, so it would be more covert. It would be about appearances.
Yeah.
People are over it. I like Bernie's disheveled hair. It's flying over here because he hasn't had time to get a haircut. He's been working for the people.
Yeah, he has been working.
Right. God dang.
So, and I know I bring this up every now and then. I try not to bring it up too much because I know a lot of people disagree. But I think come 2020, if we get let's say we get Hillary Clinton again. I voted third party last time. And I'm not going to vote for Gary Johnson again. I've learned a lot since then. Sorry, everyone, for that. But that doesn't mean I'd be voting for Hillary Clinton.
Right.
I wouldn't. If it's Hillary versus Trump again, I'm still not voting for either of them. If it's Biden versus Trump, I'm not voting for either. That's just how it is. That's not how democracy works.
Can't be Biden. No. We need rank choice so you can have your Biden in there.
It's Maine. Thank you to Maine. But the Democratic Party shouldn't be sending out tweets saying, fall in love in the primary, fall in line in the general.
Ew.
That's not democracy.
No. And your name, your party's name is the Democrat. Be fucking democratic.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. So that's So it's just it's awful. And for that reason, I'm glad that Bernie still wants to be a Democrat, because with the name, him being a democratic socialist. He's still a Democrat. He believes
he's a social democrat. He just
social Democrat. Yes.
Yeah.
I
know semantics, but there are people that take it very serious.
Yes, they do.
To take the means of production, he's going to take all rich people's money away. He's just going to come take it. The government's going to take your money and your guns.
No. No.
No, we're actually going to give people more stuff, not take it from them.
Yeah.
Like healthcare. Yeah, if you cut your hand, you don't. I dropped a vase. Stacey and I just talked about it a couple days ago. We had double sinks, and there was a vase, and it had fallen, and I tried to catch it at the same time it fell, and I misjudged my distance. So it dropped, but the way that it broke, heavy glass was sticking up as I was coming down. So it went up in, and it was hanging off, and it was really bad. But I didn't have insurance. So I started calling clients of mine, they do their hair, that are nurses or RNs, to see what I could do at home. If, and they're like, looking at pictures, you need to go to the emergency room. You need stitches. But I didn't have insurance. So I finally got it to stop bleeding and super glued it with nail glue closed and was babied it for a while. But that shouldn't be, you shouldn't have to ration out your health care. I wouldn't want my daughter to have to do that. If her finger was cut, I would say you need to go. If it was my mom or if it was my girlfriend, somebody I care about, I would say, no, we're going to the hospital right now. So you should be able to say that about yourself as well.
Yeah. I was just reminded in the chat by mentioning a thing. The other thing I had on my list that I just completely looked over, but
what
is in complete order with this conversation we're having now about the Democrats, is the hashtag climate town hall.
Yeah.
I would love to tell you guys about that. I would love to break it down for you, but I can't because I don't have cable.
Yep. I know.
Does that help our democracy?
Acceptable. Nope. It's for the upper class. Think about all the kids who would actually fall in love with the policy and, fall in love with being a part of the governing body. Any person in this country can be a part of governing. Run for city council, and people, I fell in love with that whole idea of that's something precious that other countries don't have. They get told who's going to rule over them. Mm-hmm. And so I think that if young kids, rural or inner city, that their parents just can't add cable to the amount of bills each month, just can't do it. They don't get the option of seeing a democratic debate. That's unacceptable. And I think it should be, like we talked about last time, it should be on PBS or a public access that if you have a TV, you're able to turn it on, you get that channel. It should be everywhere. I know with the way the TVs are now, there is, I forgot what it's called, but a couple years ago we had one and it just picked up the regular channels if we were going to watch TV, which we didn't. So, but now we have Hulu and Netflix.
Yeah.
and Showbox.
As much as I love YouTube Premium, as much as I love Netflix, even Amazon Prime at times.
Yeah, with Prime.
I still think you made a great point. They should air this shit on PBS.
Yep.
They should air it where it can be
public access, paid for by taxpayers. So we own it's ours. And then they don't get to say you can't record it. You can't, there's CNN has it on YouTube on CNN, but it's broke up in tiny segments because that's how they want to put it out. I don't want your spin on it. I just want to hear it.
Yeah. That's just how it should be. There really should be laws against that, cracking down on CNN, who has a monopoly on this town hall, because that's public knowledge.
Yeah, I agree.
Know that stuff.
I don't think anything that has to do with the democratic process should be behind a paywall, ever.
No, never. And
It's gross. It's just it's way bigger than we're even making it out to be. It's gross.
Yeah, it is. I think it's in line with Kim Iverson makes the argument that Twitter should be part of like it's the new like public
telecommunications.
Yeah, and obviously not just Twitter, but
right.
that's what she talks about the most. But like, it should.
Yes.
I
mean, it's massive.
It is massive. That's where people go to speak. That's where people go to talk.
Yes, it's massive.
And we should have, free speech laws like extended there.
I think that their problem with that is that it's not just like American phone company. It's worldwide. So does each country have their own laws? And then Twitter has to follow them no matter what? Because it makes me sick when Twitter does things like takes out parts of certain videos or doesn't show things because Saudi Arabia doesn't want it, or it's inappropriate, or her hair was showing. Like, no. Do you care about these things or not? Because if you do, then you say, I'm sorry. If you come to my site, everybody can see her hair.
Yeah. So this is just my solution then. Because I feel like you kind of like asked how would we go about that.
Right.
Is then maybe the greatest nation on earth should law, right? And then we should help build a UN resolution that we also abide by.
Of course.
I feel like that's the best first steps we can take. And then treat it like law. And other countries should do so as well. And mostly just Twitter should just not delete.
Censor? Yeah, they shouldn't censor anything.
No. And I mean.
Well, people don't let murderers be on there, but.
Right.
No violence or illegal crap, of course.
Well, but no violence I agree with, but illegal is still wishy-washy now. I don't trust it.
Well, child rape, Child
rape, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. But that counts as violence to me. That counts as violence.
I agree.
Yeah. So, as far as like, well, now you sound like a terrorist or an Assad apologist. Shit like that. That shouldn't be censored. I'm like 9/11 conspiracy theory stuff shouldn't be censored, and beyond even Alex Jones 3/4 of the time shouldn't be censored. But that's my take. That's my whole shtick for the night. I hope everyone appreciated it, enjoyed it when you could. Can you give us a Gray update, Christy?
Yeah. I will. I don't know if you can really.
Because we have a few new viewers, can you tell them why I just asked you to do it?
You see my gray hair? Yeah, it's so silver. Well, I have been. If you see right here, I have like a white stripe coming in. My hair is braided. Starts right here and goes all the way around to this thing right there. I know I probably just made you dizzy. Sorry. My daughter did it for me. She braided it for me. But I do have a white stripe here, and I've had that since high school for a long, long time. And I've always covered it up. I've always done hair, and then I became a hairstylist. And so the salon I worked at, we couldn't even show up with makeup on. Like, that's not the look. The name of the salon was Hello Beautiful. So it was day spa. You can come and spend the whole day there, and get everything done. Well, that was not an option. I never even thought of it. But Stacy used to always say, let it grow out. And I didn't know how much I really had. And today is week 15 since the last time I colored it. And I mean, I can't show you because it's all put up, but it is like silver with a white stripe in it. And then right here, it grows in dark still, just right here in the front. So I'm going to have all silver hair with a dark stripe. but I need it to be really, really long and silver. So
yeah, it's going to be wonderful. I'm very excited for it. In the chat, Landon Weeb said, Silver Vixen? Oh, yeah. So, again, thank you, everyone, for joining us again on this wonderful Friday night. We have close to 20 viewers. That's about our normal, and that's a very nice normal. I appreciate all of you who come here.
Yes.
And, please
I look forward to our Friday nights.
Me too. Me too. I get to hang out with Christy and Nacha.
Yes, our Lord and Savior.
Quiet. Huh?
Our Lord and Savior.
Our Lord and Savior. Yeah. So, all right. I'm gonna have some updates, hopefully on Twitter and Facebook soon about a few upcoming events. So be on the lookout for those. I'll try to tag as many of you as I can remember who are in here all the time. And please just pass it along, as you should do with this. So go ahead and share this out. Tell everyone that this was an awesome episode.
Yeah.
And please like, and please make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell. And we are, what are we, 35 away from 600. So.
And then we'll get to 666.
Oh, yeah. So we need to do that. So
yeah, I think it's something fun to do for
actually, we're 101 away.
Oh, yes. So if you guys have any ideas of what we should do for 666, put it in the comments underneath it, or message Mac and I. Yes. Probably. You know who we are. I like it. I wish I knew how to screenshot on this computer. I don't.
All right. Everyone, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We love you guys. And not just
stay humanist, for God's sake.
There you go.